Welcome to Exotic Truth Podcast. We've made it to 5 episodes. Boys, how you doing?
We're halfway.
Oh, that song never gets old.
Digits. Is that you playing the saxophone in this song?
Saxophone, because your test is coming up soon. I know you're the only one with the
I
soul.
wish. If there's one regret I have in life, it's never learning how to play the saxophone.
Yeah,
it's not too late. It's not too late.
Yeah.
Let's see. I feel a little tired tonight, so
you wake up. You can't be yawning within the first minute and a half. I mean, we got a hell of a guest tonight.
Bryce, I got just the thing for you.
Well, what is it, Peps?
Well, you ain't ever heard of Ray's Energy, have you?
I've heard a thing or two about Ray's.
Let me tell you about Ray's. It's the closest thing you can get. Well, I don't need to go into any details. All I know is you drink it and you feel the electricity running through you, Bryce.
I heard it gets you more jacked up than Mountain Dew. And right here, we got a yummy promo code for you at repsport.com for 15% off. You get your first order of Ray's. Use YumRays40 to support Exotic Truth Podcast. Thank you for the support, Ray's Energy.
I tell you, Ray's Energy is something else I got in this. I got it in this bottle here. It's better than Red Bull. It's better than Monster. It's better than Ghost. It's better than any of those energy drinks. It'll get you going.
Yeah, we quit all other energy drinks cold turkey as soon as we found out about it. Be quite frankly.
Cold turkey. No one likes the hot turkey. It's always cold turkey.
But I mean, we don't really have much this week to recap, do we? Other than the fact that, I mean, Gary Lamb was a bitch yet again. He didn't stand up and do anything for himself. He sent out Gunnar Miller. I mean, we were prepared to talk to Gary Lamb. Gunnar Miller came out, and
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting on the footage of this alleged.
Who really had the last laugh here?
I was laughing my ass off. Brick busted over his head. So,
oh Lord!
But Bryce got to see it, so you'll see that video in the coming days. I'm sure we'll share it on here sometime between now and the next Southern Honor show. But
instead of the coming days, let's talk about now. Let's talk about now, and that is the Exotic Truth Podcast. We've got another star in the waiting room here. A man who is, he's more traveled than half independent wrestlers.
He wears the stripes than anybody I've seen. Hell.
Hey, that is very true. And he takes pride in those stripes. But he is currently with the NWA as a referee, Mr. Jarrod Fritz.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Welcome, sir.
What's going on?
Oh, not much. Just chilling. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. I saw the podcast with you and your buddy. I think it was like a buddy from high school or something like that. And, I was reaching out to you, letting you know I was watching that. And you mentioned how you like podcasts. So we had to get you on.
Yeah, man. I love doing I never want to host it. I give it up for you guys for doing that because that's just too much damn work. But I always love going on.
We haven't even gotten the hosting part.
Yeah. We just interviewed each other.
We just turned on our computer to sit down.
But yeah, no, I love doing them. I've had a chance to do quite a few of them. And the one that you were talking about with my buddy Yanni, actually, that was his first episode. So that was really cool to be a part of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you guys covered like a lot of topics. A couple we'll talk about on here if you didn't watch that interview. But a lot of things like I didn't know about you. I've known you for a couple years now. And, like hearing that you were in the Olympics and things like that, I was just like, wait, what? This dude never tells it. You don't gloat about that, buddy? Like, come on.
No,
it's I didn't know about this other interview you had, or I listened to it in advance.
Oh, well, hey, well, who's slacking? Who's slacking now? Jeez.
Yeah, way to do your homework, buddy.
Over.
It's called market research, brother. Market
research.
Yeah.
Like we said, we're still getting used to this hosting thing. We haven't learned. We were never good at research.
I'll answer for that later.
Yeah, no. There's a lot of I guess you could call them secret hidden gems or whatever, because like you said, I don't really gloat about things. I don't find that that's beneficial for anybody. So there's just a lot of things once it hits a certain duration after I've been out of doing something for a while, it's just kind of on the back burner. And it's yeah, okay, cool. And then if somebody brings it up, I'll definitely talk about it and the experience. But I feel if you constantly just hold on to all the stuff from the past, you'll never get the opportunity to really move forward from it. So let the shit happen, let it be what it was, and then kind of move on from there.
See,
Yeah,
well
that is one thing I like about you too, is, you know, what you just said was kind of motivational. And like, if you follow Jarrod on social media, you'll know like he puts out videos with like inspirational quotes and things like that. Is that something that you're hoping like catches on and you get like, you know, what they call TikTok famous these days for, or is it just something that just kind of makes you feel good, you know, letting you know that you're spreading the word?
So it really started out originally, and I can't even tell you how long ago. I mean, maybe 2015, 16, somewhere. One of the jobs that I do is I work with a supplement company called Advocare, and they're very big on personal development for their distributors, like learning how to be a better person, that type of thing. Which at that time I was kind of like, you know, life sucks, you know, whatever. I'm just grinding away, whatever. And I read a couple of books and I said, well, you know, there's something to this. And I really just kind of started changing my mindset. And I felt like if I just kind of throw it out there and put it up as a social media post where everybody sees it, now it's accountability for me because I said it and now you got to hold me accountable for it, right? Then, you know, there was experiences in life, like with my wife, where it was just like kind of troubling or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to throw something out there for there. So it reminds me to kind of address the situation and not walk away from something that seems challenging. Then it just kind of became a daily type of thing. And I got a lot of people that would say, oh man, that really helped me out. But it also helps me out too. So a lot of the things that you see is just kind of what's on my brain or what's on my heart for the day. It's just like, I kind of want to throw it out there. So I know that throughout the day, I can be thinking about it. And again, it's that accountability aspect for people seeing it to go, yeah, you said that, remember? Yeah, I did. I guess I got to hold true to it, you know? And if it helps other people, great. I would love to move into the direction of doing, not necessarily TikTok famous, because I don't want to just be social media based, but I would love to become a speaker somewhere or something like that, to where I could kind of do that as a profession as well.
Yeah, I mean, and you could definitely do that. I mean, with pro wrestling as well. I mean, there's opportunities for like anti-bullying events and things like that I feel like that would really work and like coincide with each other with that.
I feel like we need more of that kind of behavior too, especially with wrestling on social media and everything. It seems like every time you open your phone, it's just people being negative or going back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, putting any
Who
kind
can
of
talk the most crap about each other.
Right.
Well, isn't that wrestling?
Yeah.
I know, but
you know, and it's kind of crazy because it's what line is it? Do you want to keep kayfabe, or like how much drama do you want to put out there? Because sometimes you really can't tell what's what. So people don't really separate their characters and who they are very much. But I think the positive manifestations are a great thing. I mean, not enough people know like the statistical effect that really has on your mental health.
Yeah.
Speak positive, speak it into existence. I mean, I think that's a huge thing for people who have long-term goals.
And I mean, in my experience with professional wrestling, and I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, what a lot of people don't see is that professional wrestling for a lot of us is an escape from our mental health issues. You know, it's just a way that we can be somebody else. We can be different. We can get away from everything that we are. So when you start throwing in a lot of that crap that you see on social media, you know, the hate, the bullying, all this kind of stuff, it just amplifies it. So you can go drastically one way or drastically the other way. Either way, it's bad, you know. And I get a lot of people that'll tell me all the time, they're like, man, you post all that positive stuff all the time. Like, aren't you ever pissed off? Yeah, I'm pissed off a lot. But what good does it do for me to share it with the rest of the world? Like, it doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do y'all any good. It doesn't do anybody else any good. Like, that's my shit that I have to deal with. So if I want help, I'm going to do it on a one-on-one situation, whether it be with my wife or one of my friends or something like that, so that I can manage it, because positivity attracts positivity, negativity attracts negativity. So like, it's your choice what you want in your life. If you just continually just throw out all that negativity, it's just going to be pulled right back into you. So, I mean, you choose. I don't care.
Yeah. And in the world, you got a lot of fake people and things like that. And like, the reason like the whole positivity thing like stuck out about you is I've witnessed it firsthand. When we had the opportunity to work for WWE, I was so just like anxious about the whole doctor checking me out and things like that. Like anytime I go to a doctor, my blood pressure is high, like at all. And with WWE, their medical process is top notch. If you have high blood pressure, you're not getting to work that day type deal.
Yep.
You don't know how to do a duck walk.
Well, the worst part was Jarrod and I were last to get checked out. So we're just sitting there watching everybody go in this doctor's office and get shipped out. And we're like, oh my gosh, like I'm like a nervous wreck over here. And like Jarrod's over there just being like, dude, what's the point of being anxious? Like, it is what it is. Like, you know, you'll be fine. Luckily, I was fine, got cleared, but man, I was.
Yeah, I was the one that had the issues.
Yeah. But no, like that's kind of what stuck out. I was like, you know, he was one of those people. And you didn't have to like be there and be like, dude, like you're gonna be good. You could have been like any other of the horror stories that you hear where it's like, suck it up, dude. Like, push on, whatever.
Or the dog eat dog, where it's like, okay, well, I hope you.
I hope you fail so I can succeed.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, realistically, at that point, it's kind of like what I tell my students when I'm teaching my students and everything is like, before an exam or whatever, you already know what you know. If you don't know anything else at this point, like, what the hell's the sense? You know, like you're just gonna work yourself up for no damn reason.
Right. Yeah, because that was something in school too. I had test anxiety. Like I hated tests when it came time. Zach over here, he's the knowledge wizard. So
yeah, I was more nervous about trying to get to class on time. When it was test day, I felt good. I don't really have performance anxiety. It's just anxiety the rest of the time. So
I had anxiety about filling in the bubbles. I could never get them all the way in that little hole.
Well, then it became a rectangle, so you know. Then you know you got the
that was
whole
a little bit
pattern
easier.
of the oval.
There we go.
Pep's just started playing connect the dots.
He's like all the guys that tells you just is not like qualified. You know what? Don't do bubbles like this.
Away.
But we'll get in a little to wrestling here. Word has it that you were trained by one Bob Keller.
Uncle Bobby Ferguson.
If anybody knows,
oh Lord,
old Bob Keller, you know,
Bob don't touch my doorbell killer.
Right. Bob can either be the greatest man you've ever met or your worst enemy you've ever met. So I'd love to.
I'm glad we ended up coming on his good side over there.
Yeah,
I love Bob now. The first time I met him, I was like, man, this guy's a dick. Just like, hey, listen, I'll tell you one time only, don't touch my fucking guardrails.
But I would love to know, like, how you got in touch with Bob to start pro wrestling. Like, how did the journey start for you, and how did you meet Bob?
Okay, this is a big story. Okay,
here we go. So, buckle up.
You had just mentioned the whole Olympics thing. Okay, so one of the doctors that I worked with at the 2008 Olympics had just gotten signed by WWE to be a doctor for WWE right before he went to Beijing with me. He knew, because I had worked with him multiple times in the past, he knew I was a big wrestling fan. So the whole entire time we're over there, we're chit-chatting about, you know, wrestling and this and that, and I'm marking out for certain things because at this point, I didn't know the first damn thing about like training for wrestling or anything. It was all a hoop dream. But after the Olympics, he said, you know, I'll do my best to get you to come in as a massage therapist whenever we're in the area. I did two shows with WWE as a massage therapist. And then after that, they decided to go a different direction with their massage therapy. So shortly after that, the guy who mentored me in massage therapy was living in Tampa at the time, oddly enough. And that's where FCW was. And so I asked him, I was like, do you have any connections to FCW? And he's like, no, I don't. But I have a connection back in Charleston, a guy that I used to teach as a massage therapist. He's now a professional wrestler. And again, at this point, I had no idea about like the indie shows or anything like that. But he put me in contact with him. That guy put me in contact with OSCW in Charleston. I went out to a couple of shows, watched the shows. Then I met up with the promoter and I said, you know, I'd really be interested in providing massage therapy for your locker room. Again, that's all I really wanted to do. But the guy who had brought me in, they were running a story angle and they were like, hey, since you're in like medical and stuff like that, could you kind of do a medical spot and everything? Well, anybody that wrestles in South Carolina knows that you have to be licensed and you have to be trained and all this other crap. So Joe, the promoter at OSCW, talked to Bob and got it arranged to where I could, fantastic guy. Oh, baby boy, I love you. But he got me in touch with Bob, and it was really supposed to be literally I was supposed to go up with Bob for like a day or two and just learn how to kind of move around the ring, maybe hit the ropes, learn how to roll, take a bump, just the very, very, very fine basics. I went up there, I think 2 or 3 weeks, and Bob noticed that I had, some athleticism, and he goes, "Hey, have you ever thought about being a referee?" Absolutely not. But I mean, I'm down to give it a shot because I've been a professional wrestling fan for years. So I started doing what we all do, paying dues and grinding and just learning it. And I think it took me, about 3 or 4 months before I refereed for my first show. And then after going to training multiple times over, Bob was like, "Well, you ever thought about wrestling?" And I'm like, "Well, hell yeah. Any kid has, right?" So I navigated a little over to wrestling, and there was times where I was working on a show. I'd work under a hood in the match number 1, and then I come back, match number 2, I change, and I go back out as a referee. So I was doing double duty. But then I separated my shoulder in 2017, I think it was. And because of my shoot job being massage therapy, I was like, you know what? I think I like refereeing a whole lot more, So that's when I kind of like pushed all my chips in on refereeing and learned as much as I could and really kind of navigated that. And Bob has been a huge facilitator, Bob and John, to be honest with you. Bob gave me a lot of the foundational stuff, and then John Schuyler did a lot of fine tuning for me.
Yeah, John Schuyler, he's one of those that a lot of people don't realize he's got a lot of ties into guys and like training and everything like that. And John's one of those guys, when you first meet him, you're like, it's kind of like Keller. You're kind of like, dude, what's this guy's problem?
I think
like,
it's a Keller guy thing.
Yeah, but it's like it's a respect thing that we've learned too. Like once you get in the ring with them and show them you can work and keep them safe, and once they see like your locker room etiquette and everything's good, dude, you're like, I'm not gonna say best friends, but like they respect you, and you're not treated like that outsider like you felt the first time you met him, which is super cool to see. Because here in Georgia, it's like a lot of guys are like everybody's family when you walk into a locker room, where like the Carolinas is like, okay, this feels like an old territory. Like it's completely different. Like, this is like, okay, I got to earn my keep here.
Well, I think a lot of that too, because I remember meeting John for the very first time, and I was like, "Whoa, what did I do to this guy?" Like I just not that he was mean to me or anything, but extremely kind of shut off and reserved. And me and Zuka King talk about it all the time because we started training together like roughly at the same time. So like we're best friends and we travel the roads together and everything. And we both think about it in the fact that, like you said, it's not necessarily earning respect from them as much as it's earning respect for the business itself and what it entails, because there's so many schools out there these days, and there's so many people that are getting trained that want to do it more as a hobby or just to say, "Hey, look at me, I'm a pro wrestler." Like whether they're trying to impress girls or their family or whatever, but they don't take it seriously because the old school days, you were super, super, super limited. Like, you basically had to get your ass beat before you could even start training just to see if you still wanted it. And, this day and age, you don't really have that going on, nor do I think you really need to have that going on. But you sure as hell should take it seriously because it is an art that has been passed down for years and years and years. And it's not just fun and games,
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. Like you mentioned, like back in the day, you would get beat up. You hear like, for instance, Hulk Hogan was just on like Logan Paul's podcast talking about like when he first started and like his arm got broke the first day of training. And it's just like that. You don't see that happening no more. Like it's definitely a lot safer, but I definitely like the fact of like having to go in somewhere and like earn that respect. Cause then it's like, okay, at least I'm doing something right and not just I'm accepted just cause I'm in the business.
Yep. Well, it's like the old saying that Bob always gives people shit for all the time was, I remember when I love this business, and that's just referring to like paying your dues or, if you've got to step up because there's not enough people to break down the ring, last weekend I was in Lexington with Pro Wrestling Union, and I worked 3 matches, including the main event, and I immediately went back, changed my shirt, came right back out to tear down the ring because we only had like 3 guys there to help tear down the ring. But guess what? I want to go home. I'm freaking hungry and I want to go see my wife. So the quicker we can get all that shit done, the quicker we're going to do it. But there's so many people who, feel like, oh, well, I've paid my dues. Well, you never stop paying your dues realistically. And that's just kind of the outlook that we have on the business. So.
Absolutely. And that's one of those things that Keller, I feel like, ingrains in his guys' brains and things like that, is like those are some of the hardest working people in the business, especially like at Lariato here in Georgia. It's like he'll bring a van full. Some of them won't even get to work on the show, but they're the first ones out there, taking the ring skirts off as soon as the main event's done, because they know, hey, we're on a time crunch. Let's get out of here, because the venue's only booked for so long too. So it's like,
well, not only that, but like it's really embedded in us from day one that there's always people watching, always. So like, and that's where you get your breaks from. That's where you get your opportunities from. Like at the time that I was training to be a wrestler, I think I may have had 6 matches under my belt. And I had gotten hired to help Bob with the ring, but also referee for the Mid-Atlantic Fan Fest up in Charlotte. And the referee that I was supposed to be working with came up to me last minute. I mean, literally an hour before the show starts. He's like, hey, you got your gear? I'm like, yeah, I'm refereeing with you tonight. He's like, no, do you have your wrestling gear? We had somebody that bailed out and we need a competent wrestler to go up against George South. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But a lot of that was because they saw all the work that I was doing behind the scenes that nobody else ever gets to see. So I tell people all that time, I mean, just do, like, even if you go out there and you help move a couple of things to, there's been plenty of times I've gone to Bob and be like, Bob, I know you guys need help and I will help, but I'm driving home by myself. I've got a 3.5-hour drive. It's already midnight. Like, I'm not a nighttime person. He's like, yeah, I totally understand it. Just if you can help with whatever you can help with, and then get out of there. So, but it's just being real, not expecting like, oh, well, I wrestled, so I get to go now,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people, they do these days, unfortunately, because, it's not my ring, that's the mindset. But you mentioned like behind the scenes and things like that. And you're wearing the shirt. You're very proud to be a part of NWA. I watched the Billy Corgan Carneyland little mini doc and things like that. Take us on how you got the position with NWA, like what's NWA like, and yeah.
So, I've been a fan of NWA. I think NWA was realistically kind of like the cutting my teeth, if you will, in professional wrestling when I was super young. My uncle used to watch it, and I didn't really know what it was back then, but I do remember seeing the blue and the gold, the lettering and everything like that. And so when I heard of its resurgence, I was like, oh, that's pretty freaking cool. Because once WCW went under, TNA had it for a little bit, and then it kind of like transferred into Global Force, and then other couple, but it just kind of like vanished. And then it was just like, oh, NWA is coming back, and Billy Corgan, like Smashing Pumpkins, what? Like it seemed interesting. But I kind of learned a little bit from the original opening season of Power. And at that time, there was a lady who was helping with their HR, or she was running the HR at that point. And she was a friend of mine. So I messaged her. I didn't ask for a spot. I said, who do I need to send my resume to? And what do I need to do to even be considered for this? That's the important thing for anybody listening. I didn't ask for a spot. I asked where I need to send my resume to and what are the proper steps that I need to navigate. And she had responded with, we're really good on referees at this point. I don't think there's going to be an opportunity for you, but if you'd like to, you can email it over here. And so I did. And I'm trying to remember the actual date because I'm horrible at dates, but it was November. So it was right before the very first pay-per-view that they did of the Modern Lightning One era. I got a message from her. She said, listen, we want to bring you in for the night of the pay-per-view to do massage therapy. They want a massage therapist. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to keep you for the next day for the TV tapings. We're going to give you a shot. And if they like you, they'll keep you on for the third day. If not, we appreciate you coming out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So I showed up that night for the pay-per-view, set up my massage table and was kind of doing my thing. And she came up to me. She's like, do you have your gear with you? I'm like, yeah, you told me to bring it for tomorrow. She's like, no, we're going to give you a match tonight. I was like, what? I'm like, huh? Like the first live pay-per-view of the modern era. And I'm like, oh shit. And it's like people I've never worked with. It was Thunder Rosa versus Tasha Steelz. So like two great people to work with and everything, but I've never worked with a company. You know, I've never really worked in any capacity with the pedestal cameras than the hard camera. So like your horseshoe as a referee, you know, you're supposed to move around the ring in a horseshoe. Well, it gets cut into like a third because of all the way that the cameras are and everything like that. So here I am, live TV, people I've never worked with before, people I've never worked for before, all just kind of thrown in there. And I come back after the match and one of the referees there, Robert King, I said, so what'd you think? He goes, you were nervous, weren't you? I was like, yeah, I was nervous. You know, he goes, well, you know, and Brian Hebner at the time was a senior official and he sat me down. He goes, it looks like you got something to work with. So we want to keep you for the TV tapings. And realistically, they just kept on asking me back and back and back and back. And so I've been there. I'm the longest tenured referee for the current era of NWA right now.
So for like a company like that, what, like as far as referees are concerned, like what are they looking for? Like what are they, did they say what stood out about you other than like you just looked like you had something to offer?
So again, you know, back then, this is before I cut my hair, you know, I had the big man bun and everything like that, which is a huge turnoff for a lot of the larger companies. Cool. It's understandable. But realistically, what Brian was looking at is how well can you communicate with the wrestlers? How well can you move around in the ring? And are you standing in front of the cameras? Like realistically, it was a lot of simple stuff, but also look like you know what you're doing and look like you're competent. You know, that's kind of what I was told. So, you know, from that point on, thankfully enough, Brian kind of held me under his wing, and he's one of the ones that I can say honestly is a good mentor of mine. I learned a lot from him, and I just, again, never stopped learning. You know, ever since I went there, I would talk to anybody who would give me peace of mind, you know, anywhere from Aaron Stevens to Trevor Murdoch to Nick Aldis to EC3. It really didn't matter. I always want feedback after matches. Like, how was it, you know? And, you know, most of the time they're like, oh yeah, it was great. I'm like, no. Like, give me some sort of critique so that way I can make it better next time. And that's the coolest thing about that locker room is it's very much a family, like truly a family. Is Billy has a vision of what he wants to have done, and he's put the right people in the locker room to be the locker room leaders and be supportive and not like really beat anybody down or do dumb shit that would compromise anything.
It's awesome. Yeah. And like something that I've learned, like, cause we've had the opportunity to work, for like MLW, Impact at the time. It's like what people don't understand is these are top level like production companies. Like they're not your typical independent show. They're not just some thrown together, you know, mud show as some people call them. So I'm sure like you've got the producers in your ears telling you time cues and things like that. Like how nerve wracking is that? Like going from reffing on the indies to now you've got people screaming in your ear time cues and get this person in position and things like that.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't really ever have anybody, quote, screaming in my ear as much, at least in my experience. And I have worked with MLW, I've worked with GCW, I've worked with AAA, I've worked with New Japan, I worked with NWA. So like I've worked with a lot of them. You know, realistically though, that's our job. That's our duty, is to be the communicator between the truck or the office and the ring. Like that's what our job is. So if you get nervous, nerve-wracked, or like if you worry about that in any way, you're not doing your job. It's just your responsibility. You know what I mean? So it's how you manage it. You know what I mean? And when I'm helping coach some of the up and coming referees, you know, thankfully a lot of the indie shows now, at least that I'm a part of, are using headsets. And we're trying to convey information. And that's the one thing that I start looking for is if I give them a time cue or if the agent gives them a time cue or something like that, I'll watch them. I'm like, I know exactly when you gave him the time cue. So now we have to figure out how we can camouflage that, because granted, the average person might not see it or they might not know what's exactly going on, but let's do our best to make it as kayfabe as possible, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, we help with a promotion in Savannah, Georgia, Coastal Empire Wrestling, and I would say like our referee game is top notch. We've got guys like Brian Brock, Mike Fullylove. Have you ever worked with Mike before?
I don't think I have.
What about
He's
Louis
current.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
I don't think so either.
have
Santiago's
both these
good.
those guys on a show would be incredible.
Yeah.
While he was telling that story, I actually met Jarrod at NWA. I forgot that he did the massage and ref at the same time, but I met you during season 2. I was up there doing a match against Rock and Roll Express. So that's kind of wild. I was piecing it together. I knew that you had the long hair before because I remember we had met you in South Carolina. I knew you worked for NWA, but I forgot about the whole massage thing. So interesting.
Many hats, man. Many hats.
There we go.
Yeah. But yeah, Mike, as we were saying, like Mike, he is one of those guys that he just needs his big break, as I would say. Like Mike is like what made me think of Mike was whenever you were talking about like camouflaging, like communication and things like that. Like I'll give Mike a time cue or something like that, and you would never know in a million years that this guy, and he doesn't take away from the action. He doesn't like he does not want to be focused on it all. He's probably one of the most selfless guys in the business, I would say.
Yeah.
Santiago's a great communicator too. I mean, I would say that both of those guys are top quality. I mean, they'd be really anywhere they wanted to be as long as they got the look, I think. But I think
that's just one of those things.
Full time though. I think
feel like
wants to kind of get opportunities, but you're not really sure. So
I feel like refereeing in itself, it's an art form, and you got guys like yourself, guys like Mike, Santiago, those guys, like you can tell how seriously they take it. And then there's some shows where the promoter's just like, throw in that guy. You count to 3.
I mean, whenever we're like doing our cheating stuff and the ref don't even do
the whole match.
Watch, it's like, dude, come on.
Like the referee is one of the most important parts of the match.
Oh no,
absolutely.
Definitely. Especially in a tag match. I mean,
I know I couldn't referee. I can't.
Me neither.
I can't think about that much stuff at one time.
I'd be like tying my shoe, missed the count for real. Messed it up, man.
Honestly, like the biggest challenge when I first started that I didn't even like really think about is that I ended up started like the first, I think 2 or 3 matches that I refereed, I was watching the match. So like when something would happen, I'd be like, oh shit, I've got to count. Okay,
I caught myself doing that. We'd have to like ref in training and stuff.
Yep.
So WWE started this thing, I think, at one of the last pay-per-views where they've got the camera on the ref's ear. How nerve-wracking would you rather that? Like, would you want that to be you with the camera right there? How would that make you feel?
GoPro on your forehead.
Hey, you know what? If they're paying me for it and that's what they want, like that's, I guess. I mean, I'm actually super old school. Like when I work at AML, sometimes they only have 2 working radios, right? So I give the 2 younger refs the radio so that they can learn how to communicate. I know how to communicate. Like you can tell me something and I'll communicate there. But like time cue wise, I just get the guy who's ringing the bell, like just to start a timer, and he'll just give me, time cues with his hand, and I can relay it. Like I love the old school style, and I really wish that I know why we have radios, and I know why for production value that's a thing. But like I'm not against the old school way either. So, but yeah, there's actually a guy in AAA, one of the referees, because in AAA referees really don't have a part because there's really no rules or anything. They just do lucha, and that's what lucha is. So referees there have to have like gimmicks. There's like a heel referee that's all like tatted up and big and bad, and then there's like a more feminine type of a referee, and then there's one he's got I think a chest cam and he's got a head cam, and so they feed it into the live feed or whatever. And I'm like, man, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I'm sure you guys have all seen me in the ring. I freaking slide, I jump, I bounce. Like your cameras
There's
aren't
no
safe
way.
with me.
Yeah.
Your cameras are not safe with me.
Well, I think it was SummerSlam they did that, and I think it was just because of the whole special referee with Seth and things like that. And I think his camera got knocked off because he got involved in a certain spot and the camera went flying. So they hadn't done it since.
They went ahead and used that spot the first time that they used the camera. They
Yeah.
already.
Yeah. And I mean,
yeah.
like realistically, like a lot of the bigger promotions now are using jib cams. So, you know, the big floating cam like they have with the NFL. So you're getting like really good close shots. So like I really don't see the necessity for like a cam like that. It just doesn't. I really don't think that it adds a whole lot of value. You know.
Yeah, and Peps had mentioned like how like serious like a lot of some of the referees take their jobs and everything, and a part of that job is, you know, being in shape and being, you know, physically ready for the part. And you on Facebook and everything, you always put the hashtag RefFit, you know, and then all of your stuff is just work. You work out harder than most indie guys too. So like, you know, what inspired you to get into fitness? Is this something that you've always done? And then did this fitness journey for you lead you into the Broken Skull Challenge? If you want to kind of segue those two questions into each other.
So I think I've always kind of been into lifting weights because my older brother is 8 years older than me. He was on like the weightlifting team in the high school that I eventually went to. Then he went into the army. So he was like working out all the time. And of course, like you want to be just like your big brother type of deal. So I was always into it and like throughout high school, like I wrestled in high school. I played football in high school. So I was always physically fit. And then I graduated from high school. And then I met alcohol. And then I met like, oh, cool. I don't have to wake up early. This is freaking awesome, you know, like, and then I could stay up till 2 a.m. because my parents can't tell me what to do because I'm an adult, you know, like, so I think from like age 18 to maybe like 2021 or whatever, I just really didn't work out all that much, you know, like I go to the gym, but I really didn't work out. And I had gained a substantial amount of weight to the point where people like took notice of it. And I was like, yeah, not a big fan of that. So I got back into working out a lot more. And then when I became a massage therapist, I think it was like a year or two into it, I just really thought to myself, if I'm going to tell people how to better their lives, I have to better like my life a whole lot better. And that's when I became straight edge. You know, I don't drink, I don't smoke, anything like that. And then I really kind of moved it up a gear with working out and just trying to be accountable for myself and everything. Then I started doing like a lot of competitive stuff. I did some powerlifting for a while. Then I did CrossFit for a while. But what was funny about the Broken Skull Challenge is at the time, I had just finished powerlifting competition. I had just really kind of got into CrossFit and everything. And the whole Broken Skull thing was, I think it was because I was on season 3, and I think it was in season 2. One of my buddies who used to wrestle in the Carolinas, a guy named Jake James, was on it, and I was like, "How did you even get on it?" You know, he's like, "Oh, there's just you go online and you fill out this application." And so my wife was like, "You should do that," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, there's no way. You know, like these guys are 6 foot tall, 300 pounds, jacked." I'm like, "Yeah, there's no way in hell that I'm keeping up with that." But what I didn't realize is like most competitions is like they have an episode where it's the lightweights, and then they have an episode where it's like the midweights, and then the heavyweights and the super heavyweights. So I filled out the application and really didn't even pay any attention to it. I was working out, but nothing crazy. And then one day I got a phone call, and they were like, "Hey, we would like to do a video interview with you." So I did that, and they told me basically the next steps were that they had to do a background check. So because I'm an independent contractor and I work for myself, background checks aren't always the easiest thing to do. So it had taken much too long, and they had contacted me. They said, "Hey, because we didn't get the background check, we can't have you on." I was like, "Okay, I guess it is what it is. No big deal." So I had been working out like during that duration of time, trying to get ready for it. And I had been working out hard. So I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to take some time off. So I took like 3 or 4 days off and just didn't do anything. I just ate. I was like, man, this is going to be freaking great. And then I get a phone call. "Hey, so-and-so
Of
couldn't
course.
make it because they had a criminal background check pop-up or something like that. And I was like, okay. They're like, would you still like to be on the show? I'm like, yeah, I would. When? They're like, we need to fly you out in 2 days. And I'm like, oh shit. So like I haven't been training or anything like that. And I had to rearrange my work schedule. And so I didn't even really have time from that point to the time that I went on screen to actually work out or train or anything. So I got there and I did the competition, and just a lot of the stuff that Steve said, like, you would film, if anybody listening or any of you guys have actually been part of film, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. Like you got to go do a whole bunch of stuff and then just wait. So there's a lot of dead time. And so luckily enough, Steve Austin's there and he's like actually talking to us. He's not just sitting there going, hey guys, whatever. But he's like, listen, I've read every single one of your files. I know who you are. I know how you train. I know what you do. I know why you're here. All this. He goes, there's a reason that I selected you. He's like, the producers gave the heads up, and there's a reason that I selected you. And because I think that you guys are some of the hardest training, baddest motherfuckers on the planet. And I was like, what? Like, what did Stone Cold Steve Austin just say to me? So after the program, I just felt like, man, I can't let Stone Cold Steve Austin down, right? So I started training harder and getting into it. And then, like I said, I was doing CrossFit for a period of time, and that's when the shoulder separation happened. So I ended up taking a total of 18 months off from like heavy training, like doing anything super crazy. In the meantime, I became a runner. I ran a half marathon and everything like that. So I was constantly keeping up with that. CrossFit gym that I was going to closed down. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just work out at home. And then of course the pandemic happened, and thankfully I had a lot of implements at home because I'm a certified personal trainer. So I have stuff. And then thankfully with all the stimulus and stuff like that, I was able to actually build a gym in the house. And I was doing that for a long period of time. And then one of my buddies was like, hey, have you ever thought of strongman? I was like, no. And that changed my life about a year and a half ago. So that's what I've been doing consistently now, is training strongman. I've got a competition coming up in November. And I think just
boulder toss. You get the thing up. You
it's
done that one yet?
It's all brutal, man. It's all brutal.
I bet.
But it's like
I've seen
I tell
it. It looks like it.
I carrying trailers.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people though, like the way in which you do it and how you do it specifically is the best full body workout you'll ever get, because you have to engage everything to do it the right way. Like that's the biggest thing, is like you really can't fuck it up. It's either you do it successfully or you just don't do it, type of deal. So, but yeah, I absolutely love it. And I do feel like fitness is a huge part for referees. And I've been told that by the people in WWE, is like, you have to be able to be fit and be able to take care of the guys in the ring.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I like. One of the first people I saw backstage at WWE was one of the referees, and he's just over there like in his workout gear. And I'm like, man, this dude is ripped. Like, what? He's jacked up over there. Like, man, like, why don't you look like that on TV? Yeah, but it's. I mean, that's just something, especially like being on the road all the time. It's like it's one of those things. Like, if your body's not healthy, you're not going to be able to do the job to a high level.
Well, also too, like I explain to people when it comes to that is, because I've had people tell me, and I'm not gonna lie, they're like, man, you're in better shape than most of the guys. Okay, what does that tell you? Like, if the referee can get in shape, then you sure as hell can get in shape just the same. But also, we're the authority in the ring. Like, if you don't look like you could take care of the guys, then how safe do they feel, or how realistic does it become?
Absolutely.
That's just my 2 cents.
No, it's a good 2 cents. That should also go for security on the outside as well. If your security looks like a fan, because they don't need to be security.
I think we were victims of when Kevin Nash was talking about that.
Kevin Nash. I was just about to say that. Kevin Nash said it best.
He said we were like indie wrestlers or something trying to get a paycheck. We're like, yeah, pretty much.
Well, we got picked, Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin's under enough heat right now. Don't bring him up.
I didn't know about it. I'm sorry for bringing it up. I didn't know.
Him and Logan Paul are going at it.
Oh wow.
But But yeah, but Jarrod, I mean, you're full of just stories, full of, I mean, surprises, like you were mentioning. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man. You know, this may have to be a part 2 because we didn't even get to the Olympics part of everything.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm totally down for it.
But we know you got a busy
Oh.
schedule. You were telling us you got a couple of seminars and classes to teach down in Florida this week, so we won't keep you too long. But yeah, man, we do appreciate everything that you do for the business, and we appreciate you coming on Exotic Truth.
No, man, I appreciate you guys, and I hope that you guys have a great night and everybody else has a freaking awesome day when you're listening to this.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Awesome. You too. Thank you, sir. What a guy. I learned a lot, guys.
Keep getting better. They just keep getting better.
I know it.
Well, I think the best part is, like, you know, we keep pulling people from different positions in the wrestling world. We've had a live event coordinator. We've had a journalist. Now we've got a well-traveled referee on the resume of Exotic Truth. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we didn't even get to everything that he offered. I mean, he was in the freaking Olympics.
I know, I'm still dying to know about this Olympics.
I mean, they're going to everything that any of these guests have offered in an hour.
Well, look, if Peps and Jarrod are on the same card and you see them in a corner, Peps is asking about the Olympics, guaranteed.
Oh, there we go.
During the match, yeah.
yeah, he's over there. Hey, Jarrod, come here, buddy. But no, Peps, you had mentioned before we started the interview, you know, about shows coming up for you guys.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're in any particular order, but this one may be the next.
Well, I
one
know.
That's not next, but that one's coming up for
It's
sure.
actually not the next one.
Exotic Youth in Action. We don't know who the opponent is yet, but if it's anything like it's been lately, they're going to be trying to screw us over. There's going to be a conspiracy on the loose, but I think we'll be able to take them out, whoever the hell it is.
This one,
you know, we will, Zach. But yeah, we're fast forwarding a little bit. Well, I guess these things come out on Thursdays. So tonight, Exotic Youth in Action against a couple of chooches, Sean Legacy and Wade Adams, making our debut.
October Slam.
Within 2 weeks, you're going to be able to see Exotic Youth in Augusta, Georgia twice. But you need to get tickets for both shows right now. Don't wait.
Oh, these are both in Augusta. It's October and September, folks.
Augusta Superstars, and then
hopefully you're listening to this. You're listening to this podcast on the way to Augusta.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then headed towards the end of the month, we've got Talk is Cheap, Coastal Empire Wrestling. That's a stacked card there, but both of your matches have been revealed, so we'll go ahead with the one that was revealed today. Actually, Zach, Dylan
this little weasel, man, he's a newcomer in the wrestling business. He's a rookie, if you ask me. I mean, I just heard about the guy last month. That's the first time I ever see him.
He's put the 1-2s to Peps before.
He's got a pretty big mouth on social media. He was running his mouth with Peps. He busted open his own manager. I mean, this guy seems like a clutch to me, but he does have a little bit of charisma out there, especially among this these hype beasts or TikTok influencers or whatever the hell. Peps would know more about it, but
now I know. Zach, that's why I'm telling you, Zach. You know, as much of an idiot as he might be, you got to watch your back. He's got his little camera guy running around, little film crew.
He's got a decent looking clothesline. I'll say that finishing move, the Insta swap or whatever, but I ain't going to feel it.
Oh, Lord.
I'll be whooping his ass. He's going to get the Wheel of Fortune, son.
Well, look, I know we're called Exotic Youth, but I've never felt more old trying to read one of Dylan Lesen's posts or comments than ever, because half the stuff he's saying, I have no clue what the kid's talking about. But Zach, hopefully you'll beat some sense into him. What is that, on the 28th of this month?
Ask for this match. What a dope.
Ask and you shall receive. That was the name of our last podcast. But Peps, you've got your hands full, pal. This could be one of the toughest, roughest opponents you've ever faced in a Coastal Empire Wrestling ring, or any ring, to be honest. The man has faced Chris Jericho on national television. You got Shug D, pal.
I know it.
I hope you know how to peel a pineapple, son.
He's been a lot of places. He's done a lot of things. He's wrestled a lot of legends. And for the first time in that ring, he's going to be standing face to face with Southeast Mouthpiece. And I ain't knocking him. I ain't knocking him one bit. I know what he's capable of. I know the level of talent. I know how long he's been around. All I'm saying is I hope he's ready.
How
and I
long has he
hope
been
doesn't
around
take
then?
me lightly.
You know, Peps, that
'Cause I'm
as
bringing-
of today, he's ranked the number 74th wrestler in the entire world currently, based on
The whole
PWI.
world.
PWI
Well,
500 came out today, apparently.
He's going against yet to be ranked Cornelius Pepperbottom.
he's about to be 75 by the time I get done with him.
I want to make sure I quoted that right. No, he's actually 73. So he'll be 74 when you get done with him, I guess.
There we go.
Well, we'll find that out, and you can find that out in Savannah, Georgia, September 28th at the VFW Post 660. Some of the best hamburgers, $3 whales, $3 Miller Lights.
And
What a
folks, if you
deal.
don't know about it, I mean, let me tell you a little bit about these burgers. They're half pork, half
Tell
beef.
'em.
Now, for anybody who don't eat pork, forget I just said that. But even anybody who does, these are damn good burgers. They smash them together, they slap them on the grill, they throw some cheese on it, and you put it in your mouth, and it tastes good.
But look,
I'm
when you
a
order
big
that
fan
burger,
of the spicy
be
mac
sure
and cheese balls.
be sure to go and get your seat first, because at that last Coastal Empire Wrestling show, we had standing room only. That place was packed. So you may want to get your seat, get your ticket first, then go to the concession stand. But make sure you mark your seat because it could get taken.
Yeah, and if you don't get front row ahead of time, I mean, I know last show we oversold by 3 seats. We had to drag 3 more to the front row during the show. So definitely get on that. Get your tickets now. It's going to be one hell of a show.
Yeah, and then moving into we've got something on the books for October already being announced here. Looks like you guys are headed back to Canton.
Yeah, so it may not be the one-on-one match that I asked for because Gary is too much of a coward, let's say.
Wait, what? I thought it was.
Yeah, it's not
What's
the
the
one-on-one match that I asked for, but it's going to be a tag team match
No.
because Gary didn't answer the question. If that idiot Gunnar Miller can get his head straight, which I doubt he will after that brick was smashed over his head.
How's he
I was
going
gonna
to
say,
cleared?
Zach.
I
I was gonna say, Zach. You said tag team match. Let's face it. This is basically going to be a handicap match between us and Gary Lamb. There isn't no way Gunnar Miller. I mean, I wish I had the clip to play. Like, if
He's probably still picking cement out of his brain.
when this show comes out, you have to watch this because this brick disintegrated into Gunnar Miller's head. I mean,
Well,
a million pieces just shattered. I saw a cloud. I mean, he flopped to the ground like a fish. I've never seen a man of that stature get taken out so quickly.
Well, let's be honest. An injured Gunnar Miller mixed with a full Gary Lamb at least equals one guy. So either way, it's going to be a handicap match.
I don't know. I think either way, we're going to hand it to him. And I don't know if they've made it official, but we made the challenge for it to be a street fight. Anything goes because this is about as personal as it gets. I mean, this feud's been going on for 3 years. Gary Lamb is one of the people I respect the very least in this entire world. I think he's a coward. I think he's a liar. I think he's a hypocrite. And I think he's a conspirator against exotic youth. So silence.
Not to mention a douchebag.
This could get wild. We could hire a mediator, moderator, whatever they're called. I think we extend an invite to Gary Lamb to come on Exotic Truth.
Damn.
That ain't a bad idea.
I hadn't even thought of that, but I think he would show up. But I think we should extend the invitation. I agree with that.
Gary is one for confrontation. So, Gary, if you're watching this, which we'll tag you in it, we'll clip this out.
Who are you kidding,
Your
Bryce?
invitation on the next episode, episode 6, Silence of the Lamb is what we'll name it. Gary,
Challenge is out there, Gary.
the invitation's out there.
You didn't want to wrestle. Well, how about we talk one more time while you still can use your damn voice box?
Look, I don't think he's got the balls to be on Exotic Truth.
He's gonna have a larynx when we get done with him, Peps.
Look, and I'll even say this. Well, we can even go a step further. If Gunnar wants to join, if he's able, if he can think right after what you guys
I don't
did
think
to
he's
him,
conscious.
I don't even know if he's out of a coma yet.
That's what I was gonna
Bring-
say. I
bring
don't
Gunnar-
think he's conscious.
bring Gunnar, bring Gary, and hey, Gary can pick the mediator if he wants. We'll have 6 guys on this screen right here. I'll just sit back because I'm not
we have
able
the
to get in the
capabilities
action.
to
I'm
do
not
that?
able
I
to
don't know if
do
we got that
anything.
kind of bandwidth.
Hey, we'll see. It might be a little
You know
fuzzy,
what?
but hey,
We're gonna need a damn wide band to fit Gary Lamb's ass on here.
if it makes Gary
We're
feel
gonna have to
better,
plug him into an Ethernet.
you know what? And let's even up the ante. Maybe we go live with that interview. a live interview, a live episode of Exotic Truth with Gary Lamb.
Uh-oh.
Pastor Lamb, you got the balls?
Well, we'll answer that on the next episode of Exotic Truth. This has been episode 5 with NWA's Jarrod Fritz. So it's out there. Gary Lamb, you going to join us?
Get ready, let's go.